Hello everyone, my name is Mohamed Gaber. I am a type designer and researcher from Egypt, currently based in Amsterdam to work on my master's at Sandberg Institute. Um, and thank you, Type Weekend, so much for this chance to share with you my questions and my research project and the trip through finding answers to some of these questions. Um, Today, I want to talk about the status quo of contemporary Arabic type, but I want to tell this, I want to open this subject through an experience that I went through in a specific project that initiated the research I'm working on now. So, like over a year ago, I was commissioned by a tech company to work on adding Arabic support to one of its typefaces. And the project targets to cover the Arabic script, supporting and providing the typeface for millions of users. And to aid the decision making process, the client had a group of consultants as the client, the decision makers for the client were not native Arabic speakers, so they had a group of consultants to help with this, which enriched the conversation I'm about to share with you. And I would sum this conversation around the keyword contemporary, if you may say. Um, and I will explain in a minute why specifically contemporary is the keyword that can explain the dialogues and the discussions that we will be sharing now. So from the beginning, knowing that the typeface will be covering a wide range of views and targeting a very group of Arabic readers, um, right from the beginning, I made a clear decision to take the inspiration and to take the source of information for this typeface from manuscripts, while understanding that the typeface is targeting a brand of a tech company, so it also needs to be um uh, having this like fresh look, if you can describe it this way. While I started taking this inspiration from the manuscripts for the design itself and proceeding with the design, this opened a very interesting discussion with the client and with the consultants mainly, which was in one of the feedbacks from the consultants. They described some of the letters of the typeface, or specifically some of the aesthetical features or the aesthetic feel of the typeface to be archaic and not to be contemporary enough, and that it doesn't really feel contemporary. And to find a specific answer to this, so I had to ask what is actually contemporary. Like, I had to ask this to the consultants, and I had to ask this to myself as well. Like, if I need to design a typeface and to make sure that it is contemporary, then I have to understand what does it even mean. Like, what does the keyword actually mean for me? And in process of trying to find an answer to this, actually I found that the same wondering is not only for me in this position. Actually, I found that there is other type designers for other scripts trying to find an identification to the same question of what actually is a contemporary typeface. Like, what are the group of features or the list of targets that when you start hitting them, you would have a typeface that you can clearly say this is contemporary. And even, yeah, even when I started to look for answers for this, I could not really find an agreed upon answer. if it's a set of aesthetical features that define this, or if it's like a time-based situation that defines this is contemporary, this is not, and this is archaic, and that's not. And which is like this debate, I expected it. Like I think it's a very natural questioning to be existing in a globalization flourishing situation. We are trying to like draw the lines between the cultures that are melting, and between trying to find and trying to preserve your own identity in everything that is happening. But again, to go back to my research and to try to find this answer, I tried to study the aesthetical features of um, group of famous typefaces. Some of the typefaces I saw them commonly used in the Arab world by graphic designers and by famous brands in general. So, and I tried to differentiate or do a comparison between the features of these typefaces, trying to compare between the presence of a Latin influence in the design itself regarding the metrics, the features of the design, and the manuscript influenced, or the more like preserving of authentic Arabic features in the design, and between the feeling of a traditional typeface and a more of a modern design. And as I do this look, I found that amongst the most famous modern typefaces for Arabic that were used and produced in the last 10 years or 15 years or so, the most common feature is a specific presence um, of metrics and design features that were produced for the aim of aiding the matchmaking process, and which led to like a bigger midsection area, sometimes sharing a lot of aesthetical features with the Latin accompanying typeface. And it appears to me that in the discussion I was having earlier with the consultants, that when these like specific metrics of higher midsection area and so on were not present, this automatically gave the feeling that yeah, this is archaic, and this will be causing legibility issues, because users now are used to this specific feature. They are more common to see these spacings and these high midsection area that now is defining what is contemporary and what's not when it came to the aesthetic part. um Something that I did not necessarily agree on. Like I still felt that for the common Arabic reader, in there is still a relationship present between the reader and the manuscripts, and the reader and the calligraphic heritage of the Arabic. I feel like this relationship still exists, and it needs to be taken in consideration more in the process of design. Um, and as I still work on this research and time passes by a bit, an amazing update happens, which is more political, I understand, but in the same time, it was like a very eye-opening update, actually. So in I think it was the spring of 2021, a great uprising happened in Palestine, in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, and as the reporters, journalists, and many activists in the region were trying to cover the stories coming out from Sheikh Jarrah and coming out from Palestine, we started to notice this oppressive presence of algorithms on Instagram and on Facebook. that any topics that had the word Palestine in it or had any keywords related to the uprising, the post will be blocked and or banned or shadowed. And I'll explain in a bit how this is related to the topic of contemporary. And when this happened, which is common and been happening in the last couple of years, people noticing like an oppressive presence for the sovereignty of these algorithms. Um, to counter this and to work around it, journalists and activists actually worked with a very archaic or old solution, which they started to write the statuses, the updates, and even articles using the very old non-diacritic version of Arabic that had, which is like the very version of Arabic that had no marks or dots in it, which can make the readability of it a little bit challenging, but it still relies on this factor of familiarity to aid the ability to read the script, or to help you in the process of reading, which what happened by in the most modern time. And it actually worked because it worked in fooling the algorithm. At the end of it, the shadow banning for a little bit was a little easier than it was. But seeing this solution, seeing users actually using a very old version of Arabic in very common and very contemporary medium as the social media, was wide opening for me, that it's not necessarily the fact that users now just want a specific spoon-fed aesthetical features to the typefaces to be able to read it. Actually, they depended more on familiarity in this situation, to share statuses, to write long articles using a dotless Arabic, and it actually worked just fine. Or at least for the purpose of trying to counter this sovereignty of the algorithms. So, in this contrast of questioning what, or trying to find answers to what is contemporary, what really sits the measures of modernity, the real questioning here was not really, like, at the end of it, I found that the real questioning here was not really only to the answer of these questions. It actually led me to question the body of knowledge that we have for the Arabic typeface or type design. What do we have that we can agree on? What is the status of this body of knowledge, and how can we rely on it? How can we, as a community of type designers, or as type designers uprising and trying to learn more about Arabic type design, how can they find this body of knowledge and rely on it? And not to be surprised, I found that the status of this body of knowledge is similar to the status of Arabic uh, type design, or the status of the development of Arabic type design, is that it also inherited this bit of delay in its development of this body of knowledge, which actually led me to work on this new project. It's called Type Platform, and the idea for this project is to open discussions with type designers from the global south in general, but with more focus on the Swana region, inviting type designers from Iran, from Egypt, from Morocco, from Sudan, from all over the region, to have more of like an open discussion on these questions, on what defines contemporary to each of us? How are we dealing with the status of the body of knowledge we have for the type design? How are we as individual designers dealing with this, with these questions and with these situations when you have to decide between relying on the manuscript, or trying to do something innovative while breaking a little bit of rules or not? And within this project, we already started, and we recently had a discussion with Amir Mahdi, who shared with us his methodology of research, and how he handles his work. He's also one of the type designers that in their work features a lot of calligraphic feel. And in a recent talk, he shared with us the role of calligraphy and the heritage of calligraphy in inspiring his work. So I would really love to welcome your questions about like my trip, if you may say, and of course welcome you to watch the video of the interview with Amir, as I find it extremely informative and helpful to everyone. And thank you so much for this chance to share this with you.